The Justice Department sued Los Angeles and its mayor, Karen Bass, over its sanctuary city policies today. In a statement, the DOJ argued these policies, quote, interfere with the federal government's enforcement of its immigration laws. This comes after weeks of ramped up immigration operations across Southern California, which prompted several major protests. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins us now with more. Camilo, it's always great to have you. What else do we know about this lawsuit?
Well, the Justice Department, Meg, is alleging that this law in Los Angeles directly conflicts with the supremacy clause in the U.S. Constitution, which says that federal laws trump state and local laws. This law, at the center of this lawsuit, severely prohibits and restricts information sharing and also local cooperation between officials in Los Angeles and federal immigration agencies like Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and also Customs and Border Protection, CBP. The administration is also alleging that in addition to this law being allegedly illegal, it also contributed to the protests that we saw in Southern California and some instances of violence earlier in June. It is also really important to note, Meg, that this is part of a broader effort between the administration and also sanctuary cities that limit cooperation with ICE. The administration has tried to, for example, withhold federal funding from these cities and has filed lawsuits against cities in New Jersey and New York as well.
All right, I also want to get your take on another development today. A judge delayed the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. Why is that?
Well, just to level set, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is, of course, that Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to that Salvadorian prison back in March. He only was brought back to the U.S., Meg, to face serious federal charges related to human smuggling and the smuggling of undocumented immigrants. We expected him to be released from federal criminal custody pending his criminal trial back on Friday, but his lawyers actually requested that he be kept in criminal custody for the time being because they are concerned that if he's released, ICE will pick him up and deport him to a third country, an unknown third country. And so the judge in that case now has granted that request from the lawyers, keeping Mr. Abrego Garcia in criminal custody for the time being through July 16.
Okay. Over the weekend, we know that President Trump told Fox News that he was considering a pause on mass deportations, notably that would affect farming. What else can you tell us? What are the other details?
The details are still murky and unclear, but we know that the president has tried to balance two competing interests, or at least seemingly competing interests, the mass deportation pledge that he made on the campaign trail and also his interest in safeguarding the U.S. economy, which, as you know, in large part relies on immigrant labor, including from immigrants who are in the country illegally, and many industry leaders in agriculture, hospitality, the restaurant business, and other sectors have expressed concern that his crackdown on illegal immigration is hurting their profit margins and spooking their workforce, many of whom are here in the country illegally. We don't know what this pass actually entails. It could be a protection from deportation on a temporary basis. It could be some deference to employers who are hiring undocumented immigrants. But obviously, again, this underscores that the administration is facing some criticism because of its aggressive immigration policies.
We know that President Trump is going to Alligator Alcatraz tomorrow. Tell us what that is and kind of paint a picture for that. And why is this significant?
Well, earlier in June, officials in Florida offered the Trump administration and specifically the Department of Homeland Security an abandoned airfield in the middle of the Everglades so it could be converted into a massive immigration detention center. And the officials in Florida are dubbing it Alligator Alcatraz, as you underscored, because they are saying that if somebody tries to escape, they would have to fight alligators and snakes. The Department of Homeland Security has not only vowed to fund it, but now President Trump is visiting it and obviously giving it his presidential approval. So this will continue to be something that will be contested in the courts because advocates say these are inhumane conditions. But obviously, the administration here, Meg, is trying to send a message of deterrence. If you come here illegally, you could very well end up in the Florida Everglades.
All right, Camilo, thank you so much for all of that. I appreciate it.